There is an African country where the cold kills, and thousands of women risk their lives underground. A country where paying diamonds to get married is not a crime. It's an ancient tradition. Here, women take part in rituals, but they don't dress the way you would expect, and a man can have as many wives as his power allows. This land hides diamonds, towering mountains, and a secret that made it the only African country that was never colonized. All of this happens in the highest kingdom in Africa, a place almost no one talks about, but no one forgets. This is Uncensored World. Today, we travel to Lesotho. Let's begin. Lesotho is a forgotten kingdom, a small piece of land on the world map, dwarfed by the enormous country that surrounds it, South Africa. But despite its tiny size, covering an area of approximately 3,400 square kilometers, a size similar to that of countries such as El Salvador in Central America or Belgium in Europe, this country has a geography, history, and traditions that make it unique on the African continent. Its geographical location is so unique that it is the only country in the world completely situated at an altitude of over 1,400 meters above sea level, making it not only the highest country in Africa, but also the coldest, with an average annual temperature of 7 degrees Celsius. For this reason, Lesotho is also known as the Kingdom in the Sky, as its altitude makes it one of the closest countries to the sky on Earth. This extreme altitude generates an impressive geography, with dramatically rising mountains, deep valleys, and rugged landscapes. The natural environment here is imposing, and the harsh climate contributes to making Lesotho a truly unique place. Due to this extreme geography and the country's poverty, Lesotho has some of the most dangerous roads in the world. The roads wind along the sides of steep mountains, with cliffs that drop hundreds and even thousands of meters at some points. The combination of narrow roads, frequent fog, torrential rain, and the lack of adequate signage creates extremely risky travel conditions. A miscalculation when driving on these routes could result in a tragic accident. This means that if you plan to visit or travel through Lesotho, it is essential to research the routes well before setting out. If traveling by car, it is highly advisable to be prepared for changing conditions and to drive with extreme caution, as the surprises can be as breathtaking as they are terrifying. One of the most impressive and popular routes in Lesotho is the Sani Pass, a mountain pass that connects South Africa with Lesotho. This challenging route winds its way through the steep slopes of the Drakensberg Mountains, offering spectacular views that make it one of the most spectacular and beautiful roads in the world. Once you cross the border into Lesotho, the Sani Pass takes you to the picturesque and iconic Sani Mountain Lodge, where you can enjoy a warm drink in the highest pub on the entire African continent, to try to relax and endure the cold temperatures of this remote place. The Drakensberg Mountains, known as the Dragon of Africa, form one of the most impressive landscapes on the African continent, with their imposing majesty and peaks that seem to touch the sky. Their beauty is so overwhelming that many compare them to the European Alps, but what makes them unique is the wild and almost mystical environment that surrounds them. These mountains, which extend along the border between South Africa and Lesotho, create a natural spectacle that is without comparison. The Drakensberg are not only a visual paradise, but also a treasure trove of biodiversity. Unique species that are found nowhere else in the world grow on their snowy peaks and in their grassy valleys. But what is truly fascinating about these mountains is their ability to transport those who visit them to an almost ancestral time, where nature and history seem to merge. This region is full of stories and legends, some engraved deep within its depths, which have a lot to do with the history of this enigmatic country, and which we will soon discover. As you will have gathered, the geography of Lesotho, far from being a mere curiosity, has a profound influence on the daily life of its inhabitants. The climate is cold, especially in winter, when the mountains are covered in snow, giving this kingdom a wintry image for much of the year that few would associate with Africa. Rain is frequent, which gives rise to green landscapes and lush vegetation in the warmer months. And among all these natural wonders, because of all this, Lesotho is home to a ski slope, one of the few on the entire continent, called Afriski, located in the Maluti Mountains. Although few people know about it, this ski resort attracts the most intrepid in search of snow, in a continent where skiing seems unimaginable. Few people know that, in the heart of Africa, they can enjoy this winter sport, surrounded by dreamlike landscapes. But the majesty of the African Snow Kingdom does not end with its climate and geography. Its territory is made up of impressive mountains and dense forests that create a mystical and wild atmosphere. Places like Selabathib National Park and the mountainous area of the Maluti Mountains are true natural jewels, with breathtaking panoramic views and the tranquility of their unspoiled landscapes. This corner of Africa is a far cry from the typical safaris or plains that dominate other territories on the continent. Lesotho is a country where nature manifests itself in its purest and most breathtaking form. In addition to this natural beauty, Lesotho's past and present make it even more extraordinary. Despite being a very small kingdom, it has a history that few could imagine. For centuries, Lesotho has maintained its independence, being the only African country never to have been colonized by European powers. In ancient times, this kingdom was known for its impressive resistance, and it is said that in its territories there was a secret group of warrior women known as the Somsebo, guardians of the warrior spirit. These women, endowed with exceptional bravery and skill, were fundamental in the defense of the kingdom. Their presence in the battles marked the history of Lesotho, leaving a deep mark on the culture and mythology of the country, turning them into a symbol of resistance and power. This resistance and power are linked to the diamond mines, underground cavities that have not only been a source of wealth, but also the origin of legends that have marked the country's history. A few years ago, an extraordinary archaeological discovery seemed to certify these tales that until then had been considered legends, after finding something that nobody expected, and that you will soon learn about. In the rugged mountains of the Kingdom of Lesotho, very intense conflicts were fought for many centuries. Among them, the Basotho communities faced constant threats due to clashes with neighboring tribes and incursions by foreign colonizers. In the midst of this instability, some women and their children were forced to seek refuge in unusual places to ensure their survival. Near the village of Letseng, known today for its wealth of diamonds, there were ancient natural cavities in the mountains, which, according to local accounts, served as hiding places during these dangerous times when these tribes were struggling to survive. These caves, deep and difficult to access, offered protection against external threats and became improvised refuges for those fleeing this violence, since few knew of their existence, and even fewer understood how to reach their depths. Although formal diamond mining in Lesotho began centuries later, studies show that these rock formations in the Letseng region were used as natural shelters long before their mineral value was discovered. In those days, women may well have found small shiny stones embedded in the walls and floors, without fully understanding their importance. But what happened in those mines was not just a story of survival, but a legacy that was passed down from generation to generation, as these women, forced to hide in the depths of the earth, not only saved their lives but also sowed a lesson that was never forgotten, for they drew their experiences on the walls of these dark caverns. Among these drawings, stories that few know have been discovered, such as that of a woman who lived underground for years alone to escape a fatal destiny. Her testimony is chilling. All this is known because thousands of years ago, the first inhabitants of this land left their mark on the rocks. In the caves of Lipofung and other caverns hidden in the mountains, their cave paintings still tell stories of hunting, war, and survival. This reality makes it clear that for centuries these were not simple refuges. They were natural fortresses, where tribes protected themselves from invaders and predators. And among so many stories, there were the paintings of a woman who seemed to have survived for years hidden under these lands, describing a story that shows what her daily life might have been like in order to survive. What do you think about this reality? Would you dare to live alone for years underground, coming to the surface only to hunt and survive? How do you think someone like that could survive for years? Pause the video and leave us your comment. You know that doing so is the best way to support the channel to continue working every week and bring you the best content, so thank you. Surely this reality has surprised you, as life in the depths of the earth was extremely difficult. But the geography of Lesotho, a place with abundant rain and snow in the interior of Africa, offered a crucial advantage. Despite being hidden in dark caverns, the women could have obtained water from the underground streams and springs that seeped from the nearby mountains. As for food, the ancient tribes were well acquainted with their environment and hunting and gathering techniques, so they could have managed to survive on what nature offered them. Edible roots, medicinal plants, and small game would have formed part of their diet, as well as insects and herbs that grew on the rocks. The existence of nearby natural sources would also have facilitated access to food, such as small mammals and birds that took refuge in the crevices of the mountains. Realities that probably helped the woman in this story, and many other people, to survive. Those same stories, passed down from generation to generation, not only preserved their legacy, but also contributed to the strength of a people who, over time, would become the only African country never to have been colonized. In the village of Mokhotlong, in the northeast of the country, stories are told, passed down from generation to generation, of how Basotho mothers used these natural shelters to protect their families during enemy raids. These legends speak of the courage of the women who, sometimes in the absence of their warrior husbands, assumed this responsibility and risked this danger. The Letseng diamond mine, located high in the mountains, is renowned today for producing some of the largest and most valuable gems in the world. But what is even more fascinating is to imagine that, long before these treasures were extracted by industry, these same mountains served as sanctuaries for Basotho families in times of crisis. These men and women, forced to hide in the depths of the earth, not only saved their lives, but also sowed a lesson that would never be forgotten. In Lesotho, surrender would never be an option. Over time, these caves would also help this country to prosper, as one of the pillars of its economy has been mining, especially diamond mines, which have been a significant source of income, although they have also brought with them numerous challenges. Lesotho's diamond mines, hidden deep in its mountains, have long been a well-kept secret. However, poverty has been a constant companion in the life of this kingdom, since despite being the country that supplies water to the whole of South Africa, a large part of the population lives in extreme poverty. Speaking of water, the best time to discover one of the most fascinating waterfalls on the planet has arrived: Maletsunyane Falls. This almost unexplored corner is so fascinating that it boasts impressive records and natural phenomena that seem to be taken from a fantasy movie. In addition to being a unique visual spectacle, Maletsunyane Falls is home to the world's highest guided rappel drop, with a height of 192 meters. This guided rappel is also called commercial rappel, and is an extreme experience organized for tourists that allows many adventurers, without needing to be professionals, to descend along the waterfall under the supervision of expert guides, guaranteeing safety and adrenaline. No previous experience is required, although a minimum level of physical condition and a brave spirit to face the fall are required. Anyone willing to experience this adventure can take part, as long as they are prepared for a unique challenge in nature. The descent is not only a physical feat, but also an opportunity to witness an amazing phenomenon in this place: the force of the water that falls so powerfully that under certain conditions, it seems to vanish into the mist at the base of the waterfall. The deep canyon and the extreme flow of the Maletsunyane River create a mystical atmosphere where the water disappears in a halo of steam, creating a surreal vision that is difficult to forget. But the Maletsunyane Falls are also a place full of mystery and legends. Many of the local inhabitants believe that the deep waters of the river hold ancestral secrets, and they tell stories of lamentations that can be heard in the distance, as if the souls of the ancient inhabitants of the place had been trapped in the fog that surrounds the waterfall. These stories, passed down from generation to generation, feed the mystical atmosphere that surrounds this place. With all this, if you ever have the opportunity to travel through this fascinating country, don't miss the chance to experience the Maletsunyane Falls, a place where natural beauty mixes with history and mystery, creating one of the most breathtaking adventures in the world. Lesotho is a vital supplier of water to its neighbor South Africa, thanks to the vastness of its rivers and underground sources in the mountains. However, despite having these valuable natural resources, the fact that it is a small country with limited resources of its own has led to poverty being a constant. Many of its resources, such as diamonds and water, are often exploited by neighboring countries such as South Africa or by foreign companies, without the profits remaining within the country. But the strength of its people is its best ally against adversity, and this can be clearly seen in how they have maintained their ancestral rituals and traditions. Among these realities, there are controversial practices such as polygamy, whereby men in Lesotho can have several wives, or traditional dances that mark the transition to adulthood for the country's women. This dance is the Mokhibo, a traditional dance that is performed as a rite of passage for young women. In this event, thousands of women dress in minimal traditional clothing and perform a collective dance, celebrating their passage into adulthood. This ceremony has a strong symbolism and is a reminder of the deep roots of Lesotho's culture. Mokhibo is much more than a traditional dance. It is a rite of passage marking the transition of young women into adulthood in Lesotho, a moment of great symbolism. In this event, thousands of women dress in minimal traditional clothing and perform a collective dance, celebrating their maturity and their ability to take on new responsibilities within their community. Although in the eyes of many cultures this type of dress may seem unusual, in Lesotho it has a profound meaning. It is an act of respect for traditions that have been passed down from generation to generation. This step into adulthood also marks the moment when women are ready to take on an active role within the family structure. A structure in which Lobola, the dowry a man or his family pays for a woman's hand, plays a fundamental role. In Lesotho, unlike in some other African cultures where livestock is an item traditionally used as a dowry, the practice of Lobola often involves other assets, such as money or, in some cases, diamonds, which are a valuable resource in this region. With this in mind, the greater a man's wealth, the greater his ability to offer a considerable dowry and, therefore, increase his chances of taking a wife. In the cultures of Lesotho and other parts of Africa, Lobola is a practice that symbolizes commitment and respect between families. This rite celebrates not only love, but also mutual respect and the creation of alliances between communities. In this cultural context, polygamy is a reality for many men in Lesotho, who can have several wives, as long as they have sufficient resources to satisfy society's expectations. In general, a man with more assets, whether cattle, money, or diamonds, has a better chance of acquiring more wives. This system of polygamy, which has been an integral part of many African cultures for centuries, is not simply a question of power or personal desire, but is related to principles of solidarity, family cooperation, and the creation of strong bonds between families. But it is good to know that in Lesotho, having several wives does not imply a forced relationship. Although the women must accept the situation, in most cases the decision to enter a polygamous family is not taken lightly. Women in Lesotho have a voice within this system, and their consent is essential. Polygamy in Lesotho is based on mutual respect between wives and husband, where women have to live together and cooperate. In many families, wives form bonds with each other and support each other, understanding that their collective well-being is key to the success of the household. Interaction between wives is not always easy, but it is common for them to develop a relationship of respect and teamwork. In traditional communities, women are expected to share responsibilities and collaborate in daily tasks such as childcare and household management. In this type of extended family, each wife occupies a place within the structure, and important decisions are usually made jointly, often with the advice of the older wives, so that over time the roles of these same women change within the family. At this point, we would like to know, would you like to dance with the women of Lesotho in the Mokhibo dance? Or, if you could, would you marry several women? We would love to read your comments, so if you have read this far, feel free to pause the video and leave us your comment and a like. As you know, your help is the best way you can help Uncensored World. Something that not everyone knows is that the idea of multiple wives is not exclusively linked to male power or desire, but rather to strengthening relationships between families and ensuring survival and well-being within the community. Even more so in poor regions such as Lesotho, where the struggle for survival is a constant. This strength, often associated with the traditions, legends, and women of Lesotho, has a lot to do with the way in which the people of Lesotho resisted attempts at colonization by European countries. During the 19th century, when the European powers were competing to expand their dominion over all of Africa, the Basotho people, led first by King Moshoeshoe, found themselves in a constant struggle to protect their independence. Faced with the threat of the Boers, descendants of the Dutch settlers, and later of the British, Moshoeshoe I made a strategic decision that would mark the history of Lesotho. He retreated to the high mountains of his territory, to a place known as Thaba Bosiu. Moshoeshoe probably already knew many of the stories and legends associated with the resistance of the ancient inhabitants of Lesotho, and that is why this mountain, with its natural fortress-like shape, became the center of resistance for the Basotho people. From there, Moshoeshoe first established a fortified camp, which was almost inaccessible by land due to its steep slopes and the difficult geography that surrounded it. Over the years, the place was filled with stone walls and makeshift fortresses, making it a true natural fortress. The geographical position of Thaba Bosiu made it virtually impossible for invaders to take. From there, the king and his warriors were able to protect themselves from all attacks, not only because it was a natural fortress, being a mountain in the middle of a plain, but also because it had everything they needed to survive: water, provisions, and livestock. Furthermore, the Basotho used their knowledge of the terrain and the mountain routes to surprise their enemies with ambushes and rapid maneuvers. The ability of the Basotho to defend themselves on their own terrain, with Moshoeshoe at the helm, enabled them to successfully resist colonization attempts, and the area remained uninvaded for a long time. Throughout this period, the Basotho resistance, organized around Thaba Bosiu, was not only a reflection of the leader's strategic ability, but also of the determination of a people who, armed with their knowledge of the environment and a deep sense of unity, fought for their independence. For this reason, Thaba Bosiu is the most important historical, spiritual, and cultural site in the country. A visit is a must if you are visiting the country and want to learn about the history of the Basotho people. The name Thaba Bosiu means mountain at night. Its origin seems to come from a legend that tells the story of shamans who decided to burn a rope made of grass that surrounded the mountain, and with that, they made the mountain seem higher and higher during the night, making it unreachable for their enemies. At this point, you are probably wondering how to plan a visit to fascinating Lesotho. From Uncensored World, we have compiled all the essential information for you to make the most of your adventure in this unique corner of Africa. To get there, the most common option is to fly to South Africa, as Lesotho is completely surrounded by this country. From Johannesburg, you can take a flight to Maseru, the capital of Lesotho, or travel by road, which can be an incredible experience if you prefer adventure. But as you know, it is also dangerous. Keep in mind that you will need a valid passport to enter, and a visa is not required for most countries for short stays. But it is always advisable to check the specific entry requirements before traveling. This country offers travelers a unique experience in terms of both landscapes and costs. The cost of living in Lesotho is generally lower than in many regions of the world, making it one of the most affordable countries on the planet. In addition, US dollars are accepted in many establishments, and the exchange rates are favorable, making transactions easier for those carrying this currency. With regard to accommodation, there is a wide range of options to suit different budgets. In the main cities, such as Moshoeshoe, basic rooms can be found from approximately $20 per night. For those looking for more comfort, 3-star hotels in Moshoeshoe have an average price of between $30 and $50 per night, with options that can be cheaper depending on the season and how far in advance you book. Gastronomy in Lesotho is equally accessible. A meal in an inexpensive restaurant costs around $5. As for getting around the country, although the main roads are generally in good condition, rural roads can be more difficult and dangerous, especially in mountainous areas and during the rainy season. Roads can be narrow, steep, and at times impassable without a suitable vehicle. Therefore, it is highly advisable to rent a 4-wheel drive to explore the mountainous landscapes safely. Some routes, such as the famous Sani Pass, specifically require 4-wheel drive vehicles due to their uneven terrain. If you prefer not to drive, you can use taxis and minibuses, which are the most common form of public transport in Lesotho. However, bear in mind that these services are not always as punctual as you might find them elsewhere. It is important to be patient and plan ahead. In terms of safety, Lesotho is considered one of the safest and most peaceful countries in Africa, with a relatively stable political situation. However, as with any tourist destination, it is advisable to stay alert and follow local advice. Crime in the country is low, but it is always wise to take precautions, such as avoiding areas with little traffic at night and not showing valuables in public. From Uncensored World, we hope that this tour of the wonders and curiosities of Lesotho has been as exciting for you as it has been for us. With that in mind, and the effort that making these videos requires, we would love it if you could leave us a nice like, subscribe if you are not already, and leave us a nice comment. It's the best way you can help us to continue bringing you the best content every week. If you have enjoyed this video, and you are not yet a subscriber, don't wait any longer, click the bell so you don't miss the fascinating videos we make every week. Videos like this one that you can enjoy now, to learn about one of the most enigmatic corners of the planet. Don't miss it, and discover the wonders this place has to offer.